All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries.
After tabling the vote for 2 months, the Arizona State Board of Education is moving forward with identifying DEI in the classroom and possibly removing it.
We received an executive order from the federal government indicating to us that we must end all discriminatory programs, including DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion.
Earlier this year, President Trump issued an executive order demanding the removal of DEI in schools. While this order is currently tied up in the courts, State Superintendent Tom Horne worries if they don't act, the state could lose out on their $806 million of federal funding.
President Trump has said that educational institutions that maintain DEI will lose their federal funding. We could say, well, he doesn't really mean it, but that doesn't appear to be consistent with his history.
During public comment at the meeting, several people, including Beth Lewis, the director of Save Our Schools Arizona, were against removing DEI in the classroom.
It would be educational malpractice and would erase what makes our students unique. It would erase their talents, their context, and their homeschool connection, all of which are critical for learning.
There was also concern on what exactly DEI is, since the federal government has not released guidelines for schools.
You can ask 10 different people what DEI is and you'll get 10 different answers.
The vote on Monday will establish a committee made up of education representatives from all 15 counties who will be tasked with combing through the state's teaching standard.
That working group will build definitions for DEI related to language to determine what language should be revised or removed in order to satisfy federal direction.
Back in October, the state gave a possible example of what they could be looking for, and in it they found the word equitably in one of the sections of the state teaching standard and said that it could be removed. The committee is expected to report their findings to the board next September. And while Tom Horne did praise the board for passing this vote, he is worried about that September deadline. He's worried that President Trump may act on this issue before then. I'm Steven Sarabia for Arizona's Family.